So earlier this week, you probably seen a video if you were interested, where I was talking about why buyouts occur and why Scarlet and Violet cards are being targeted, and which Scarlet and Violet cards are kind of being targeted or increased in price lately. But when I was recording that video, there was something I kind of noticed, and I think this is good for me to get out into the community on why you should never buy Japanese or Korean cards or Chinese cards or any foreign language card from TCGPlayer. So let's take a look at a Greninja. Greninja EX, very popular card. And I think a lot of people would be willing to settle for a Japanese copy if they could not get the English copy, which is currently sitting at like 230 plus. We see here 3 copies are available on TCGPlayer with your Winona cards being a reputable seller at $125. So roughly 60 to 50% of your market value for an English copy. But let's say I wanted to just shop elsewhere. Let's say eBay. It's almost double market value for that copy. Double market value. You can find plenty of copies, including a lot from reputable sellers for less than $70. Seller here with 4,700 feedback. Seller here with 7,400 feedback. And then let's say I wanted to find a US seller, right? Let's see what our lowest US seller has one available on eBay. $74. Now, give or take, we only have one US seller, so the rest would be coming from Japan. But there are tons of reputable sellers coming from Japan. Is it worth it to pay nearly double the price for a card located in the US? Is it worth it to not pay that $67, $66 from Maya shop, who I actually bought from before, and I can tell you they're reputable? Or let's say over here, card 0626, $66.80. Is it worth it to pay that price instead of paying $125 just to get a copy from Leo PTCG? I think so. I'd be willing to wait a week or two extra to come from Japan to get a card for half the price. Chansey. This is another one I noticed. You had a lot of $5, $6 copies of Chansey, with the highest being $8 from Winona Cards, which I've kind of noticed Winona Cards puts a lot of their cards up here. Not sure what they do as a business. Not sure if they're just a seller or what, but they have been pretty consistent on the Japanese card front. So we see our lowest copy, $575. You go over to eBay, $289 a copy from Pokemon Japan IGU, 7,400 feedback. And we also seen that they were available for the Greninja as well. Let's say you wanted to shop US over here on eBay, right? Let's find a US seller and see what their lowest is. $371 US seller who sold 78 copies so far. $439, $449. Still a $1.50-ish low if you have to jump up to this $449 price tag. But even then, you got $371. And now, once again, if you're willing to buy from somebody who sells from Japan, once again, a lot of these sellers are reputable. $289, about half the price. Raging Bolt, we see here, 53. Once again, Winona Cards. The OPTCG back at it with 54. 52 here with May Cards. $36 on eBay. $40 on eBay. You got NMart Japan, which is at 15,000 feedback, 14,395. Cardbank Japan at 3,000 feedback. Happy Japan for almost 11,000 feedback. Guys, you see a trend here, right? The few people who actually list their Japanese cards on TCGPlayer under the English listing are trying to use the English listing as a way to get way higher than market value for that card. Ninetales. If you add in shipping, $520-ish, $320 for a copy, $325, $350. Magikarp, $28, $29 for Japanese copies. This is one that's holding a little bit more consistent, I think, because Magikarp's much more well known. But you see here, there are a lot of people who quickly try to use the Magikarp English price to get a higher increase on their Japanese card. But you have a couple here that are holding pretty fair. Hollows Live, for example, 27.50, not a bad price, especially if they're located in the U.S. May cards as well, holding a pretty honest price here. But you quickly see that these cards shoot up with TTT collectors having a Japanese version at almost $60 when you can find it for $25, $26 over here on eBay. And even if you were to climb up a bit and start looking for some of the sellers we've seen before, like Card Bank or Animart, you're still only spending $28, which is holding consistent, which I said Magikarp's kind of the outlier here compared to what we're seeing with a lot of these cards, where you have some sellers on here who are holding that same price. Now, Korean, on the other hand, not going to be worth that same price tag. Korean is actually holding a lower value than Japanese, but still a pretty solid price. Slowpoke's another card who's got a markup for the Japanese cards. Lowest Japanese is about $5 for a copy from Isaac's Son. Then you move up to like Kai cards with $6.45. Catch 'em, trade 'em for about $6.29. And you go over to eBay, you can find this card for $3, $3.50 a copy. Then last but not least, Toad School was an interesting one. You see a couple of Japanese copies at about $1.50, but if you include shipping, let's say you just want a Toad School, you're spending almost $3 a copy. You can go over to eBay and get it shipped for free for $1.50, $1.80. So you can get it shipped for free to you for less than $2 a copy. Less than $2 a copy. So why would you spend $1.60 plus $1.22 shipping over here for Leo PTCG when I can go over here and buy from the main cards for only $1.49 free shipping? And that's kind of the point I'm getting at, is you have tons of these cards which are nearly double market value over on TCGPlayer. And it's kind of wild to see that if you go to sell data, right? Maybe not here in Greninja. Oh, yeah. You got somebody who actually bought a Japanese Greninja for $125. You had somebody here. Oh, that's a regular Greninja. Okay. So you had one person for Greninja be a victim of this. One card that had a lot of people, and I don't have it up here and I should have kept it, was Groudon from Paradox Rift. The Japanese version of Groudon is having a lot of people buy it over on TCGPlayer, and they're paying like a 30% increase from market value if they just went over to eBay and bought that. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, James, eBay is untrustworthy. I have a little bit of information for you. eBay and TCGPlayer are owned by the same company. So if you think eBay is untrustworthy, TCGPlayer is just as untrustworthy. So either you trust both of them or you don't trust both of them. There's nothing different between the two. Now, the one thing I will say that I like about eBay a little bit more than TCGPlayer is your track shipping, your PWE shipping that you get if you're in the US. It's something that's a little bit helpful for both buyers and sellers versus just shipping stuff in a plain white envelope. And I believe eBay requires tracking unless the seller wants to take a ding on their account for orders over 20, while TCGPlayer doesn't require tracking until orders over 50. And I saw recently that somebody posted on Twitter that they received an order they spent like $48 on without tracking, and all the cards were missing out of the envelope. So both sides are bad and good in their own ways, but if you're going to shop from one of these sites, there's no point in not going over to the other and comparing prices. Because had this guy looked over on eBay, he probably could have seen he could easily get copies of this card for half the price he just paid. So to me, he got kind of ripped off. I'm not going to say scammed because he chose to pay that price, and buyers are able to set whatever price they want. So I'm not going to say he got scammed, but he got ripped off. He paid a price that is more than double what the card's actually worth. And that's kind of just my idea with a lot of these foreign listings on TCGPlayer. Unless TCGPlayer institutes a separate listing for any Japanese or Korean cards, people are going to list them under the English version of the card, and then they're going to put a higher price tag. And the reason why they're able to do this and it still looks good is because look at where normal Chansey sits, $19.69 for the lowest copies. Somebody's going to say, hey, I could just get a Japanese version of the same card for $5.75 and pick it up. But little did they know they can get a copy of that card for $2.89 elsewhere. So that is kind of the idea that I'm getting at with these cards, is that you're going to have a lot of people fall for this on TCGPlayer because it looks good in comparison to these prices. Look, you had two different sales for Japanese cards for 585 and 595 respectively. A couple weeks ago for 435. And then you had somebody buy a 599 copy, another person buy a 485 copy. So you're having people fall for this just because the English copy of the card is so pricey that people think these are good deals, but realistically, they're still about nearly double market. And that's with every card I showed you today, besides maybe Magikarp. And even then, there are some people who are using that Magikarp price, that English price, to try to get their Japanese copies at a much, much higher markup. But if you go over here, you see a lot of people are only sniping those $30 prices for the Japanese copies because those are the copies that are worth buying. Those are the copies that, if you can find them on TCGPlayer, are worth buying. But Magikarp is the outlier, and Magikarp is not the norm. Most of the cards here don't have any copies that are even close to what the market value of that foreign card is worth. And I think a lot of people are falling for it because they see the English price and they're like, I don't want to pay $20 for Chansey. Well, now I can get Chansey for $575. The only way I can even justify this for anybody and say, hey, that's no problem, is if that person has like rewards money or like credit with TCGPlayer that they want to use. But if you're paying outright from your personal bank account, from your personal credit card, from your personal debit card, there's no point. You can't go over here and see a card for half the price and pick it up on eBay. Not even that. You probably have websites that sell Japanese singles for this price versus this price. You probably have reputable card vendors out there that are selling singles from the Japanese sets for fairer prices. So you don't even have to use eBay and TCGPlayer to do that. You could probably Google search Chansey AR 113 out of 101 and find other sellers who are selling it, and find a seller who has it at a good price, a price that you're comfortable paying. So you don't even have to use these sites. But if you were going to use one site, use the one that gives you the better deals. Vice versa with English copies and eBay. A lot of English copies of cards will be cheaper on TCGPlayer than they will be on eBay. So if you are hunting for that English copy of a certain card, check both sites. Make sure that you're buying the better price of the two. With that being said, guys, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I kind of just noticed this while recording another video, and I thought it was just an interesting topic to talk about. Let me know what you feel about the conversation down below. Have you ever bought a foreign card from TCGPlayer? Did you feel like you overpaid? Did you feel like you paid a fair price? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, let me know what you think about TCGPlayer and allowing these foreign card listings. Is it right to even allow it? Because one could argue that this is not a Twilight Masquerade card. This is not part of this set. So why is it on this listing? Somebody can make that argument, and I can understand why they would make it. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Stay tuned for future videos. I'll try to do more videos like these because I think these are pretty fun to make and pretty cool to talk about. Anyways, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.